The rich and intriguing world building of Adventure Time didn't begin the way you might expect. Like an angry emu bursting out of the bushes, Adventure Time's sudden popularity took everyone by surprise. In this video, I'll cover Adventure Time's beginnings, how its pilot came to be, and how the pilot and the first episode set the groundwork for what would become a global animated hit that still has more stories to tell about 15 years later. Adventure Time did not begin as a vast world-building exercise aimed at fleshing out a sprawling mythos, in the vein of The Lord of the Rings or Dune.
Nothing's planned out from the beginning. I couldn't. It's impossible.
Pendleton Ward once described the show as a kind of shorts program for the writers and storyboard artists who work on it. So it's a TV show which, from the very beginning, was about each episode standing on its own 2 feet as a strange adventure story. During the later years of Adventure Time, the show experimented with more serialized storytelling, and we've seen that with the most recent project, the adult-oriented Fiona and Cake, but that's a move away from the original format that got the show started. Ward wanted to be an animator since childhood. He grew up on cartoons like The Simpsons, Ren and Stimpy, and Beavis and Butthead. Ward created the pilot as a pitch for Frederator. At the time, Frederator were taking pictures off the street, as it were. Ward, straight out of art school, submitted a storyboard pitch to Frederator, who then approved the pilot. Ward created a new story just for the pitch. Then he drew a comic, hired his roommates to do the backgrounds and colouring, and the rest is history. The basic plot of the pilot is that Penn and Jake, not Finn and Jake in this version, stumble across Lady Rainicorn, who leads them to Princess Bubblegum, now prisoner of the Ice King. While Finn fights Ice King, Jake flirts with Lady Rainicorn. Penn gets frozen solid by the Ice King, and somehow this leads to his mind being transported back in time and to Mars. There he meets Abraham Lincoln, who explains to him that he needs to believe in himself. With that revelation, Penn bursts out of his icy prison and teams up with Jake to whisk Bubblegum away from the Ice King and knock the magical crown off Ice King's head. With the villain defeated, Penn and Jake head off for their next adventure. Right from the pilot, we can see all the elements of the surreal fairy tale storytelling that stayed with the show over the years. Of course, once Ward's show was greenlit, he needed a production team. For the writer's room, he turned to people he knew from his previous job working on the cartoon The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. For example, lead writer Kent Osborne. He found many of his storyboard artists in conventions. The storyboard would come first, followed by the script. The first TV episode, Slumber Party Panic, was co-written and co-storyboarded by Adam Muto, Ward's CalArts classmate, and Elizabeth Ito. Slumber Party Panic had a lot of the zany, off-the-wall comedic storytelling of the pilot, but it also introduced a new element, mad science.
We will all die for science.
The basic premise of Slumber Party Panic is that Bubblegum's scientific attempt to revive dead candy citizens quickly derails into a zombie outbreak. To stop the citizens panicking, Bubblegum forces Finn to royal promise not to tell anyone about the zombies. Jake demands Finn reveal his secret, and when Finn thinks the zombies are all dead, he spills the beans. As punishment for breaking a royal promise, Finn has to solve a maths problem or die. When he successfully points out that 2 + 2 = 4, it gives Bubblegum inspiration to see the missing part of the equation for her decorpsinator serum, and this time she does successfully bring her candy citizens back to life. Episode 1 does have aspects that are dropped later in the show. To name 3, firstly, the potentially cataclysmic consequences of breaking a royal promise aren't brought up again. Secondly, the candy citizens' propensity to explode if they're startled is ignored for the rest of the show. Thirdly, the use of a simple moral, as Bubblegum puts it, keep your promises, okay, isn't a core part of Adventure Time later on, even in Season 1. While Adventure Time may consistently address the nature of good and evil, it does so by presenting characters who evolve, and who are revealed to have unexpected complexity to them, the Ice King and Bubblegum being particularly interesting examples there. The pilot and the first episode had one important feature in common. Both were ultimately not designed as part of a larger mythology. In terms of whether they had the backstory of the characters planned out from the beginning, Ward notes nothing's planned out from the beginning. Rather, the creators have loose ideas that they hammer out in specific episodes. Again, Ward has described the show as a kind of shorts program for the writers and storyboard artists who work on it. I'd argue this unplanned approach is a core part of the appeal of Adventure Time. Yes, the lore is popular, but Adventure Time's lore is built out of developments that put storytelling and character first. Let's go back to the structure of episode 1 to see how it has been built on so successfully. The weirdness is rooted in something mundane and relatable. In Slumber Party Panic, Finn is conflicted about keeping a secret from his best friend Jake. Completely mundane, but for the fact that the secret is a zombie outbreak. It's a fun story, but not exactly riveting character development. However, Rebecca Sugar applied the same formula to sow the seeds for the development of Marceline and Ice King, now among the most appreciated characters on the show. When Rebecca wrote her season 4 episode I Remember You, the fantastical backstory of Marceline and Ice King surviving the Mushroom War is tied to something mundane and relatable in the episode's present. The reality of drifting apart from a difficult person and the pain of once being close to someone who no longer recognizes who you are. It's popular to argue that this is a metaphor for Alzheimer's or mental illness more generally, and the strain that has on relationships. Regardless, a lot of people have painful relationships, drift away from people they were once close to, or have uncomfortably personal knowledge of mental health struggles. So the episode I Remember You is a very strange and imaginative story with a very relatable core. What's more, the emotional depth is not a departure from the original formula Ward set up with episode 1. The production origin of Rebecca's episode is that the Adventure Time team realized they had never partnered Marceline with Ice King in an episode. So as per the shorts program concept of the show, they created a short episode, I Remember You, pairing those characters together, and as it happened, the result contained a lot of thematic and emotional depth. Adventure Time began with a pilot so experimental it veered into storytelling that was bizarre and surreal. This seed successfully germinated into a shorts program that grew into not just an animation juggernaut, but a source of rich world building, complex characters, and always at its heart, exhilaratingly creative fun. The experimental approach led the show to set itself, its characters, and its world apart. Adventure Time has always reveled in its strangeness. Imagine coming home one day to find an emu on your sofa editing your YouTube scripts on your laptop. There's unexpected and there's unexpected. From the very beginning, Adventure Time had a knack for creating absolutely bonkers plots and characters, and it still has a vibe unlike anything else on television. As always, you can help the channel by liking and subscribing. Thank you to those of you who've subscribed already. Have a great week, embrace the weird, and thank you for watching.
It's like role playing. It's like I'm playing D&D, and so it's like with these characters, I don't know what's going to happen because I'm with them in the moment, and I'm them, and I'm figuring out what's going to happen next, and so that's what's exciting about it to me. And